The receipt popped up on the screen before I could even blink. 1 second I was trying to order pizza. The next, I was staring at an open browser tab titled Romantic Cabins for Couples. Her laptop. She left it on the couch. My hand was still on the mouse when I saw the confirmation email. 2 guests. Queen's Suite. Ember Pines Lodge. Weekend package. Couples intimacy reset. I didn't even click. I just stared at it, breathing through my teeth like some kind of animal trying not to lose it. It was 6:42 p.m. She was still home. Upstairs, blow-drying her hair. I could hear the bathroom fan. The same sound I always ignored before. Tonight, it felt like a countdown. I didn't say a word. I just stood up, grabbed the dog leash, and walked out the door. We don't even have a dog. But I needed a prop. Something to make me look like I had a reason to leave. Something to explain why I looked like I was about to collapse on the sidewalk. It was cold. I didn't grab a coat. I walked to the end of the block. I thought I might throw up. This was her plan. Her solo weekend to recharge and reconnect with herself. Turns out, herself had a name. His name was Grayson. I found that in the itinerary attached to the email. She paid for a couple's massage. Special note, please accommodate dietary needs for Grayson, gluten-free. I didn't even know she knew a Grayson. But he apparently can't eat wheat and enjoys hot stone therapy. You know what the worst part is? I thought we were finally doing better. I actually believed her last week when she said she needed space to breathe. I didn't know she meant breathing through someone else's cologne. I stood under that stupid streetlight for 10 full minutes, leash in hand, wondering if I should go back and pretend I never saw it. Just let her have her little retreat, play dumb, cry later. But no, I walked back in like nothing happened. She was in the kitchen now, all radiant and glowy, putting a thermos into her weekend bag. "Are you okay?" she asked, smiling. I smiled back. "Yeah," I said. "Just getting some air." She kissed me. I let her. And in that exact moment, I decided something. I would not be here when she returned. Let her come home to an empty house. Let her realize she wasn't the only one who could make choices. Let her feel what it's like to reach for something safe and find nothing. She left Saturday morning with a smile, like nothing was wrong. Said she'd be back Sunday evening and told me to enjoy a lazy weekend. I nodded, helped her zip the side of her duffel bag, even carried it to the car for her. She kissed my cheek like a politician kisses babies. Fake, polite, staged for optics. I watched her drive off in her blue Subaru, the same car we'd taken on road trips when we actually liked each other. And just like that, she was gone. Off to the cabin with Grayson, the gluten-free mystery man with strong shoulders and a massage appointment in both their names. I walked back inside, and the silence hit me like a vacuum. No fan humming, no footsteps, no scent of her rose conditioner lingering in the hallway. Just this eerie stillness. And yet, the house didn't feel peaceful. It felt like it was hiding something. The air was wrong. Her perfume still clung to the blankets, and it made me feel like I was the ghost. Like I was haunting my own home. I tried to distract myself, turn on the TV, then off again. I couldn't even remember how to enjoy anything. My brain just kept looping that receipt, that name, that note on the fridge. She didn't even have the decency to lie creatively. "This is important for me." That's what she wrote. Like I was some minor inconvenience she needed to temporarily mute. Like I wasn't her husband. Like I was a background character in the novel of her self-discovery. Around 2 p.m., I did something I'm not proud of. I opened her laptop again. I shouldn't have. But curiosity is a disease when you're wounded. And pain turns people into archaeologists, digging through timelines, texts, folders, photos, searching for the exact moment everything began to rot. I found it. It went back 6 weeks. A folder in her notes app titled Unsent Letters. They weren't to me. They were to him. Grayson. Dozens of entries. Emotional, poetic garbage. "You make me feel seen. I didn't know it was possible to crave someone's mind. When I touch your shoulder, I feel 1,000 lives open. I felt ball crawl up my throat." In all those pages, I wasn't mentioned once. Not as a husband. Not as a barrier. Not even as a guilt factor. Just invisible. I closed the laptop and sat in the dark for a long time, blinds half open, watching the sun move like it was taunting me for being too slow to act. I could have called her. Could have sent a message saying, "I know." Could have ruined her trip. But I didn't. Because I wasn't going to fight for someone who already replaced me in her mind. I was going to remove myself. Quietly, cleanly, and permanently. I opened a new bank account. I emailed my boss and asked for Monday off. I called my cousin Luke, the only person who never judged my mess, and asked if I could crash for a while. I started packing that same night. Not dramatically, not out of rage, just like I was evacuating a burning building she couldn't see yet. And then I wrote my own note. 5 words. Don't look for me. Ever. I left it on her pillow, because when she comes back from her awakening weekend, I want her to feel exactly what she made me feel. Absent. Erased. Unacknowledged. Sunday morning came without her. I wasn't surprised. In her note, she'd said she'd be back by dinner, but I knew she'd stretch it. Dana always liked to let things fade without closure, friendships, jobs, even pets growing up. Nothing ever ended with her, it just dissolved. I figured she'd return sometime late, smelling like smoke from a lodge fireplace, eyes soft with fake regret, pretending nothing happened. Maybe she'd bring me a souvenir, like a maple syrup sampler or one of those local soaps with dried flowers inside. Something cheap to silence the guilt. But I didn't wait. At 9:17 a.m., I dropped the house key through the mail slot. I had loaded the car before sunrise. It was still half dark when I pulled away, passing neighbors who were out walking dogs or jogging, nodding like I was just running errands. They had no idea I was leaving everything. Not just the house, but the story I'd been clinging to for years, the version of our life that I kept alive while she quietly wrote an entirely different ending. I wasn't angry. That surprised me. I thought I'd feel rage or maybe even bitterness, but mostly, I just felt stupid, like I'd been cast in a play I didn't audition for. And now the curtains had dropped, and everyone was packing up their costumes while I was still on stage, staring at empty seats. I drove north. I didn't even know exactly where I was headed, just away. Away from our bed, our fake smiles, our couple's therapy, her expensive yoga mats, and that damned fridge magnet that said, "Love grows best in little houses." No, it doesn't. Not when one person's sneaking out the back door. By early afternoon, I pulled into a small lakeside motel that didn't even have Wi-Fi. Perfect. I needed silence. Not the heavy kind I felt back home, but the good kind. The kind that lets your brain finally scream without anyone hearing. I turned off my phone. That was the hard part, because a sick part of me wanted to see her messages. I imagined them in my head. Where are you? What are you doing? Can we talk? But I didn't want to give her that power. I didn't want her to perform concern just because she got caught playing goddess with another man's hands on her skin. Instead, I lay on the motel bed staring at the ceiling fan until it blurred. And then something unexpected happened. I laughed. Not because I was okay. I wasn't. But because I realized just how far gone she was. While I was in the middle of heartbreak, she was probably still sipping wine next to Grayson, not knowing I'd already walked out of her life. She still thought she had time. That's what killed me. She thought I'd wait. She thought I'd cry, yell, beg. She thought I'd fold. But by the time she read my note, I'd be 3 towns away, untraceable, and already planning the second half of my life, the one she doesn't get to be in. Let her come back to silence. Let her taste the emptiness she served me in small doses for months. Because the thing about silence is, when it's real, it echoes. I didn't sleep that night. Not really. The motel mattress was hard, the pillows smelled like bleach, and my brain was its own horror show, replaying a reel of things I never wanted to imagine. Her legs tangled with his, her voice whispering to him what she used to say to me, her eyes glowing in the fireplace light, reflecting someone else's face. I didn't cry. I felt too hollow to cry. There's a point where grief becomes noise, and my head was full of it. At 2:11 a.m., the phone lit up. I hadn't turned it off, just set it on silent and flipped it face down. But in that darkness, the glow was unmistakable. I stared at it for a full minute before picking it up. It was from her. Just 3 words. "Are you awake?" I didn't answer, because she wasn't asking out of love. She was asking out of fear. She was back, and the house was empty. That's when the messages started flooding in. First 1, then 5, then 12, all rapid fire, each more frantic than the last. "Where are you? Why is your stuff gone? What is this note? Oh, and please. Are you okay? Please answer me. I'm scared." Scared of what? Not me. Scared of consequences. Scared of exposure. Scared that she had finally pushed it too far, and this time, I didn't break. I watched the screen for a while. My hands were shaking, but not from sadness, from adrenaline. I'd been powerless for so long that I forgot what control felt like. And now I had it. For the first time in years, I had it. I finally texted back at 2:34 a.m. Don't worry. You're free now. Nothing else. No threats. No begging. No anger. Just freedom. The thing she claimed she needed so badly. And she didn't reply. Not for hours. When I finally checked again around 10 a.m., she had called me 19 times. Her last text was 2 words. Please talk. That's when I knew she'd spiraled. She thought I'd follow the usual script. Get hurt. Forgive. Move on. But this time, I'd flipped the page before she could finish her performance. I drove to a cafe in the next town over. Sat by the window. Ordered a black coffee and watched people walk by like they weren't in the middle of emotional collapse. It was peaceful. Nobody looked at me like I was broken. Nobody knew my name. Nobody expected me to carry their lies for them. Then I logged into our shared cloud account. She never changed the password, same one she used for everything since college. I told myself I wouldn't snoop, that I'd take the high road. But curiosity isn't always about revenge. Sometimes it's about closure. And what I found was worse than I prepared for. Videos. From their trip. Not hidden. Not even protected. Clips of her laughing in bed. Posing by the fire. A slow-motion shot of her kissing him in the woods with autumn leaves falling around them like a music video. She filmed her betrayal. She wanted to remember it. And suddenly I understood something brutal and final. She didn't cheat by accident. She didn't fall. She jumped. And now she wanted me to be the one holding the safety net. But I wasn't that man anymore. By Monday afternoon, her tone had changed. The texts weren't frantic anymore. They were strategic. Measured. Like someone cleaning up a mess before the guests arrive. Owen, we need to talk in person. There are things you don't understand. I didn't mean to hurt you. That last one. That one made me laugh out loud in the parking lot of a hardware store. I was picking up a prepaid SIM card to replace my old number. And here she was, suddenly a poet of regret. I didn't answer. I let her sit in the silence she used to weaponize against me for years. Now it was mine, and it was louder than anything I could have said. I was done being the quiet, dependable husband. The one who swallowed his hurt and smiled through gritted teeth while she wandered emotionally, spiritually, and now physically. But the thing about being underestimated for too long is that people don't see it coming when you finally rise. I wasn't trying to ruin her life. I was just finally prioritizing mine. I checked the shared photo drive again, this time for something specific. She'd synced it carelessly, not realizing the GPS metadata in the files. With just one click, I had the exact location of the cabin. Ember Pines Lodge. I Googled it. A small, boutique place that markets itself as a place for couples to reignite what matters. That tagline alone was enough to make me choke. I thought about driving there. Not to cause a scene. I wasn't interested in that kind of drama. But to look that man in the face. Grayson. Gluten-free Grayson with his dumb flannel and dumb teeth and his rented intimacy. But I didn't. Because if I did, the story would become him. And this story, it's about her. About the way she carefully dismantled our marriage like a person removing screws from a chair they still expect to sit in. So instead, I did something quieter. I wrote an email. Not to her. To the HR department at her company. See, I remembered something she once bragged about. Grayson worked in a consulting capacity for her brand. Not directly hired, but involved. Their wellness company had strict rules about personal relationships between internal staff and vendors. Conflict of interest. Reputational damage. Especially if one of those vendors was involved in overnight retreats with a married employee. I didn't tell them everything. Just enough. I attached the itinerary. I attached a screenshot of their couple's massage confirmation. In one of the videos, not the worst one, but enough to show what kind of connection they were exploring on company-funded time. Then I closed the laptop, turned off the burner phone, and sat back. That was the first time I exhaled in days. Because she still thought she was holding the pen, the one that writes the narrative, paints the good wife, the spiritual woman reclaiming herself. But what she didn't know was that I had already written the final scene. I was just waiting for the curtain to fall. The fallout began faster than I ever imagined. I wasn't tracking her every move. I didn't want to be that man anymore. But I also wasn't naive enough to think she'd stay silent. When people like Dana lose control, they don't sit quietly, they thrash. They try to rewrite the story mid-sentence. And sure enough, by Tuesday morning, I started hearing the echoes of her panic through people who had never even heard my name before. The first sign was an email from her best friend's husband, a guy named Keaton who always pretended to like me but never quite pulled it off. His message was short, almost begrudging. "Hey man, I don't know what happened, but Dan is in trouble at work. If this involves you, just be careful." It was such a bizarre thing to read from someone who once complained I apologized too much, as if being considerate was a flaw. I didn't answer. I didn't know him anything. Around noon, I parked at a small overlook near the lake. The trees shifted in the wind like they were whispering something I was finally ready to hear, that I wasn't trapped anymore. I felt raw, but lighter. That's when my phone buzzed, the burner one. I almost didn't pick up, but curiosity won. It was an unknown number with my area code. I knew immediately it wasn't her. She always called from her own line. She wanted her name to flash on the screen, like a signature, like a stamp of ownership. This call wasn't stamped. "Is this Owen?" a woman's voice asked. Calm. Professional. Too calm. "Yes," I said, bracing myself. "This is Marla from Willowwell Corporate Relations. I'm reaching out because your name and your note were both referenced in a formal complaint submitted this morning." For a moment, I couldn't even breathe. My mind scrambled, thinking she had somehow twisted everything so completely that I was the one under investigation. But then Marla continued, "I need you to know this call is confidential. We have received documentation indicating a violation of policy involving one of our employees. You are not in trouble, but we need to verify the authenticity of the materials we've received." She was talking about the videos, the cabin reservation, the massage booking, everything. I swallowed hard and said, "They're real." There was a long pause on her end. I could hear keyboard clicks. "Thank you," she said softly, as if she genuinely felt sorry for me. "We'll handle it from here. We may contact you again, but you won't be involved beyond confirming what you've already confirmed." I hung up before she could say anything else. I just sat there, staring at the lake, trying to make sense of the fact that somewhere in that moment, Dana was probably being ushered into a meeting room, greeted by HR, and asked to explain why her solo retreat involved a man who billed her company for emotional alignment workshops. My phone vibrated again. This time it was her. A video call request. I let it ring until it stopped. 10 seconds later, another one. I let that one ring too. On the third attempt, I answered, not because I wanted to see her, but because I wanted her to see me not reacting. Her face appeared, blotchy and streaked with mascara. She looked smaller somehow, like the world had finally told her no, and she didn't know how to stand in that kind of gravity. "Owen, what did you do?" she whispered, as if the volume of the question might change the answer. "Nothing," I said. "You did that." Her breath hitched. She tried to steady her voice. "Can you just come home? We can fix this." And for the first time since this nightmare began, I didn't feel like a victim. I felt awake. "I don't live there anymore," I said. "And you don't get to ask me to fix the consequences of choices you made." She opened her mouth, closed it, opened it again like she was searching for a script. But she didn't have one this time. She had reality. And I could see, in that tiny frozen screen, the moment she realized that losing me wasn't the tragedy. Losing the version of herself she performed for the world, that was the part she couldn't handle. I ended the call while she was still talking. Not out of cruelty, but because, for once, I didn't need to hear her explanation to know exactly who she was. For the rest of that day, I didn't respond. Not to her texts. Not to the voicemails. Not even to the sudden, desperate email she sent titled, "Please, Owen." She was spiraling. And the worst part, the truly pathetic part, is that she still believed she could manage the damage. Like all it would take was one long talk, one tearful apology, and I'd fall back into the same role she'd carved out for me. Reliable, quiet, forgettable. But something had shifted, and not just in me. Around sunset, I got a call from my cousin Luke. He sounded weird. Hesitant. "Hey man, you okay? Dana just showed up here." I sat up in the motel bed, heart hammering. "She what?" She knocked on the door crying, asking if you were here. I didn't tell her anything, but she looked like she'd been driving for hours. Car was a mess. She said she needed to see you before she did something stupid. Her words, not mine. My chest tightened, but not from concern. It was something else. Disgust, maybe. Exhaustion. "She's still there?" "No." I told her I hadn't seen you. She didn't push too hard. I think she believed me. "Thanks," I said. "Seriously." Luke paused. What are you gonna do? I didn't answer, because I didn't know yet. After we hung up, I stepped outside for the first time in hours. The air was cool, almost sharp. I walked past the vending machine, down toward the edge of the parking lot, where the woods started to press in. Somewhere in the trees, a branch snapped. Somewhere far away, she was trying to turn back time. I pulled out my phone and opened her last message. It was just a voice memo. I tapped play. Her voice was trembling. Owen, please. I made a mistake. I know it. I was stupid, I was selfish, and now everything's falling apart. Work you. I've ruined it. I get that. But please, please don't disappear completely. I'm not asking for forgiveness. I'm just asking for something. I stood there in the dark, letting those words hang in the air. She was wrong, though. She was asking for forgiveness. She just didn't have the courage to say it directly. And in that moment, I knew I had only one thing left to do, the thing she never expected. Face her. On my terms. I met her at a diner. Neutral ground. Public, bright, and too loud for anything dramatic. I told her we had 20 minutes. She arrived looking nothing like herself, or maybe for the first time, exactly like herself. No makeup, puffy eyes, her hair tied back like she'd been rushing and crying at the same time. She sat down across from me without saying a word at first, just stared like she wasn't sure I was real. I didn't think you'd come, she whispered. I almost didn't. She nodded slowly, like she expected that. I don't know how to start. You don't need to, I said. This isn't a negotiation. Her hands trembled on the table. She looked so small. That used to hurt me. Now it didn't. I lost everything, she said. I didn't respond. She needed to say it, but I didn't need to carry it. They pulled me off 2 contracts. Said I breached code of conduct. Grayson's account was terminated. It's all falling apart. I didn't make those choices for you, I said quietly. You did. A long silence followed. She wiped under her eyes, but didn't sob. No big performance. Just reality setting in like a slow tide. I miss who we were, she finally said. I took a sip of my coffee and looked at her for the first time not as my wife, but as someone who simply used to matter. You miss the version of me who kept giving you chances. That version's gone. She blinked hard, and for a moment, I thought she'd get angry. But she just nodded again. And then I stood up. I don't hate you, Dana, I said. But I don't belong in your story anymore. And you don't belong in mine. She looked up with wet eyes. Where will you go? Anywhere I want. And I meant it. I walked out without looking back. Not because I needed to prove a point, but because there was nothing left to prove. Later that week, I moved into a small apartment above a bookstore in a town she'd never even heard of. I started running again, reading again, sleeping through the night. I started meeting people, not dating, not yet, but talking, connecting. And for the first time in years, I didn't feel like I was waiting for someone to choose me. I had already chosen myself. And that changed everything.